Hello, my name's Rachel from Sew Round the Bend, and in today's video we're going to be looking at how to make a full patch. I've got 3 different methods for you, each with their own advantages and disadvantages, so let's get started. Take 2 square pieces. They need to be exactly the same size. In my case, these are 5-inch squares, and we place them right sides together, and then we sew 1/4 inch down both sides. So let's go and do that. That's one side done. Now we do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, now we have a square with 2 sides, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut the square exactly down the middle, parallel to the lines that we've just sewn. So because this is a 5-inch square, what we need to do is we need to cut 2.5 inches from one side. And then when you open these out, you have something that looks like this. Now we take these and we cut them again 2.5 inches. So I like to keep mine folded because it's a little bit easier. So we cut these again at 2.5 inches. Now we have the beginnings of our full patch. We have this one and this one. Now all we need to do is press these seams to the dark side and then flip one round and then sew these 2 together. So let's go and do that. I always keep my darker fabric on top, and this is the side that I'm going to press to, so that once I've set the seam I can roll this back and it's automatically in the right position for me to iron. So I set the seam and then roll it back. Now we can turn these and we can sew these together on the sewing machine. Because we've pressed these seams to the dark side, they nest together, so when you come to this junction you should be able to feel them nicely nesting. If they're not, just slightly alter them, and then you'll find that your centre point of your full patch will be perfect. Okay, and if we open this out, we have our finished full patch, and the centre point is perfect. Now this is pressed, you can see just how perfect the centre is. This is a great technique if you want the same squares in your full patch. It's not a very good technique to use if you have directional fabric, because one will be upside down. So if you want your full patch to look like this with the same 2 fabrics in the corners, then maybe use this method. The next method just involves sewing 2 long strips together. In my case, these are jelly roll strips, and so they are measuring at 2.5. So all I would need to do is put them pretty side touching and then sew down one side. So let's go and do that. Now we have one entire line of fabrics sewn together. Obviously, the length of this can be anything that you like, but this is how you would sew them together. So let's go and iron it. Okay, so now we have this, we can press to one side. With fabrics that are similar colours, it doesn't really matter which side you press to. So let's press to this green. Now, of course, if you had these, you could chop them up and do the full patch just as we did before, which would mean that they would be the same fabrics. Or you could do multiple strips like this and mix and match. So this is also a good method. This is probably the best method for if you have jelly roll strips left over. So what happens if you have a long piece of jelly roll strip left over, and then you have some 2.5 inch squares that have already been cut? Well, we can lay down the jelly roll strip and put our 2.5 inch squares on top and just sew down the side, and we can do this for as many as we have. Leave a tiny little gap in between, but that's how you would get multiple different options for your four patches. So I've taken my long jelly roll strip and put that pretty side facing up, and then I'm taking my small squares and I'm putting them pretty side down and just sewing along. And when you get near the end, you want to get your next piece ready and place it on top. You want a little bit of gap in between, so you can cut them apart, but you shouldn't need pins for this. Stop again, put the next piece in. And then the last one. Okay, let's see what we have. Now we have a long strip with all of our squares sewn on. So let's take that to the iron and just give that a quick set. Now it's easier to cut these apart before you iron the seams open. So let's go and do that now. Okay, lay your ruler on top and cut away the excess piece. We don't need that anymore. And then you need to turn it round. And if you want to be sure, you can cut at 2.5, just in case your squares weren't 2.5 to begin with. So I'm going to cut them all this way, and then I shall turn them round and cut the excess off. This ruler is magnetic, so it keeps sticking to my desk. Oh, if you want to see the video about that, I shall put it in the description down below. I'm really loving using it. It's making quite a difference, but I'm still getting used to it, sticking to the table when I'm trying to move my ruler. I'm sure I'll get used to it. Okay, so this is the last one we're going to cut, but we've got to go the other way and cut off the other sections now. So I'll go ahead and do that. You don't need to watch me do that. So now we've got all of our pieces. We actually made 6 here. I'm going to take these to the ironing board and just press these to the dark side. Again, you don't need to see me do that, and I'll meet you back here. Now we have all of our pieces pressed, we can now decide which pairings we like. So we could take this one and we could place it with this one perhaps. I think that's the nicest pairing, so let's go and sew that together. Once again, because our seams are nesting, when you get to this junction, they should fit snugly together. This is also what helps you get the good point in the middle. So let's see how we did with this one. Okay, let's open this out. Yep, not bad. Okay, just going to go and press that. When I press these seams, I like to press these ones open. So it's up to you. You can still press it to one side if you want to, but I find that pressing them open helps it lay a bit flatter. Okay, so here's the fore patch. So with this one, we actually chose a different fabric to be in these two corners here that I'm holding. But of course you can still do it as if we were doing the square method, and you can use squares that are the same in both corners. So it's up to you what you do, but I've just I hope I've shown you some different ways that you can achieve the fore patch. So the first method was sewing our 5-inch squares together down the sides, cutting in the middle and opposing the corners. The second one was joining strips together, which you can then cut into 2.5-inch junctions. And then the third was attaching 2.5-inch squares to a longer jelly roll strip, and that's what we can do. I hope this video has helped you make a fore patch of your own, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, keep sewing. Bye!